it's still a grim situation, I think. But even the people that I've been speaking to in hospitals and other places are feeling a little bit hopeful. I think for the first time in several weeks, really, we've seen the sort of surge of cases slow slightly to something that's more manageable. And I think that social distancing rules that were put in place by the governor and the mayor here a few weeks ago are finally taking effect. But the other side of that is that we're also seeing, mass graves being dug here right now. The sound of ambulances is still, the one constant sound from morning to night.
And as we expected, it's the vulnerable people. It's we saw a story on our show this morning articulating the Hispanics and others that are really right in the line of fire.
Yeah, I think, when this was first starting to spread, the message that you would hear is that this is a disease that will impact everyone, rich and poor, black and white. And that's really not been the case here in New York or here in the country. If you look at other places, particularly Detroit, it's largely poor, largely people of color who have been impacted the most. And that, I think, is reflective of our healthcare system.
Now, New York State now has more coronavirus cases than any single country outside the US. Photos have emerged of workers in hazmat outfits bearing the coffins, as we mentioned. Look, for those that haven't travelled to Manhattan or to this part of the world, give us a bit of an idea through your eyes of how people live, because it's not like homes with big backyards. It's people virtually living on top of each other.
Yeah, I mean, I have two rooms in my apartment, and I'm lucky to have those two rooms. No, I mean, it's very tight. You're out in the community a lot. You're interacting with your neighbors all the time. You're having to shop, usually every day to get things. So everything has just changed instantaneously, including the way that we interact with each other.
What about Donald Trump and his messaging? It's policy on the run all around the world. What is the general feel about the way that the government has handled this pandemic, this crisis?
It's been like many things with this administration all over the place. The president is once again talking about reopening the economy. He's very impatient, given that this is an election year, and has been pushing his advisors on this point. The country is clearly not ready to reopen for business anytime soon, but he's pressing to do that while also sort of seeking out others he can blame, both for the economic devastation that's taken hold over the last few weeks, but also for the virus itself, particularly lashing out at China and the World Health Organization.
And the unemployment rate has obviously soared.
Yeah, I mean, we're hitting figures that I think are unimaginable, really. I mean, these are Great Depression numbers. We're at 16 million unemployed just in the last few weeks. By comparison, that's a larger number than were unemployed during the first 2 years of the economic recession that began in 2008. There's just no real sign that this is letting up, but also that the measures that were put in place by the Congress and the federal government, that those are impacting the lives of working people. I think you saw with the stock market that's rebounded this week, but it's not enough for people who have been laid off as part of this.
Well, what happens in the United States tends to have a sneeze effect all around the world. What are some of the economic forecasters saying at the moment?
Well, I think there's a real divide, which is reflective of the general economic problems that have racked this country for several years now, which is this sort of spigot of money that was opened up as a result of this economic crisis has done a decent job of getting to big business and Wall Street. And you saw that again with the rise in confidence on the stock market. There's a real sense of, I think, rising anger about the way that people have been laid off, but also small businesses who have been put on hold are being treated. The sort of small business relief that Congress put together has just been a complete shambles. And by the time it gets cleared up, it'll be it seems like it'll be the most powerful and prominent sort of mid-sized businesses that are going to get most of the money, whereas other people are still looking at crumbs or nothing at all.
We're in the middle of an election year. You wouldn't know it. Bernie Sanders now is out of the race, and it's going to be Joe Biden taking on Donald Trump. How do you see that at this point as we look to have an Easter weekend right around the world where people aren't doing much?
It's a very strange moment. I think Bernie Sanders dropping out of the race in April, if you had told somebody that 2 months ago, it would have been shocking. And also, it really didn't make the kind of splash that that kind of news usually does. People are so focused, understandably, on the virus. Biden has struggled to emerge as a sort of forceful candidate in this race. That's been true for months now, but particularly with coronavirus, his messaging has largely been to avoid playing politics, to sort of let his advisors and surrogates attack the president. But we're seeing a situation where there is a sort of vacuum on the left side of the spectrum, with others, notably New York Governor Andrew Cuomo, filling the role, while Biden mostly stays on the sidelines.
Do you think we'll see a more presence of people like Barack Obama as time goes on, as we emerge out of what we're going through at the moment and this heats up?
I think the biggest, for Biden at least, the most important thing of Bernie Sanders dropping out of the race is that it frees up Barack Obama, who was, following the longstanding precedent of not interfering with a Democratic primary. He'll be able to be the kind of forceful surrogate that Biden needs, while he's sort of playing this kind of conventional return to normalcy candidate. Barack Obama gets people excited. Right now, Joe Biden doesn't seem to be exciting very many people.
Finally, Alex, look, you look like you've got plenty to read there while you're in isolation over your shoulder. But can you just give us a little bit of an insight into life in Manhattan as a citizen?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's the great thing about living here normally is the sort of cacophony of noise, right, which is representative of all the different kinds of people and the different experiences that are here. And those have been replaced by sounds of real anxiety, sirens, just emptiness, the kind of things that you don't normally associate with this very vibrant city. And, being stuck in our small apartment is also strange, because, this is a city that you want to get out and be a part of. And not being able to do that for a month, I think, has been really difficult. But certainly, it's certainly what we need to do, because what's happening outside is just horrific.
Absolutely. Well, on a lighter note, we'll let you go and read those books, and I know you've been looking at some of those NBA games from the past, so have the best Easter you can, Alex.
You too. Take care.